Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real story with you. Even today there are many countries in this world where monarchy still exists, where there are kings. But perhaps there's no other country in the world quite like this one, where democracy and monarchy coexist. In most countries, presidents or prime ministers have fixed terms. Like in the United States, the president serves a 4-year term. In India, the prime minister serves 5-year terms. But there is one country where, when someone is chosen as king, they serve only for 5 years. After 5 years, a new king is chosen. That country is Malaysia. Malaysia is a major tourist hub and attracts many visitors. At one point, it was under British rule, just like India. While India gained independence in 1947, Malaysia became independent in 1957. After independence, Malaysia went through a lot of political and structural changes. The country has a total of 13 states, but what makes it unique is that 9 of those states have their own royal families and monarchies. In each of these 9 states, the head is called a sultan. So there are 9 states, 9 royal families, and 9 sultans. Each sultan also has a designated heir known as the crown prince, who is next in line to become sultan of that state. According to Malaysia's rules and traditions, the king of Malaysia is chosen from among these 9 sultans. They vote among themselves to select the king, and no one else in the country can vote in this process. The selected king must be from a royal family, and seniority is also taken into consideration. This system has been in place since the beginning. Out of the 13 states in Malaysia, only 9 have monarchies. The sultans of these 9 states come together to elect the king of Malaysia. However, the king doesn't hold much actual power because Malaysia is a democracy where the government is elected and the prime minister is the main authority. Still, it remains a constitutional monarchy. The king mainly performs ceremonial duties, like administering oaths and representing the country in formal functions, sometimes even for foreign visits. But he doesn't have real governing power. The 9 sultans elect one among themselves to serve as king for a 5-year term, and after those 5 years, a new king is chosen again. These 9 sultans vote to elect the king of Malaysia, and the voting process is quite unique. Each sultan casts a ballot, and once the king is elected, all the ballots are destroyed in the presence of the sultans and the newly chosen king. No one else ever sees them. So the 9 sultans from the 9 royal states choose the king of Malaysia. One of these 9 states is Perak, a state in Malaysia. Perak has a population of around 9 million. In contrast, the total population of Malaysia is about 33 to 34 million. So Perak alone has a significant share of the country's population. Perak also has a sultan and a crown prince. Since it's one of the 9 royal states, its sultan participates in choosing the king of Malaysia. The current crown prince of Perak is Raja Jaafar Muda Musa, commonly known as Raja Jaafar. Today's story is about him. Raja Jaafar's father, Raja Musa, is already married and has a son, Raja Jaafar Muda Musa, who is the current crown prince of Perak. But in 2002, Raja Jaafar unexpectedly met a young woman. She was from a wealthy Malaysian family and had been very beautiful since childhood. As she grew up, her beauty opened doors for her in modeling, and she even started receiving offers from the film industry. During this time, Raja Jaafar saw her for the first time. Her name was Hasleza. Raja Jaafar was completely captivated by Hasleza's beauty. Although there was a significant age gap of about 36 years between them, it didn't matter to him. Ignoring the age difference and everything else, one day he proposed to Hasleza, asking, "Will you marry me?" Now, this was a proposal from a royal family. The man was the crown prince, soon to become a sultan, and possibly even the king of Malaysia in the future, since the position rotates among the 9 sultans. So Hasleza immediately responded and said, "Yes, I'm ready to marry you." In January 2002, Raja Ja'afar and Hasleza had a grand wedding, following all traditional customs held in Thailand. It was a lavish and luxurious ceremony. After the wedding, they returned home, and Hasleza, now his second wife, was brought into the royal palace and given the title of Junior Queen. In the palace, there was already a queen, Raja Ja'afar's first wife, whose name was Queen Nur Mahani. So now there were two queens in the palace, the senior queen, the first wife, and the junior queen, Hasleza. The wedding took place in January 2002, and everything seemed to be going well. But after the junior queen, Hasleza, entered the palace, strange things began to happen. The senior queen, the first wife, started experiencing unusual seizures. She claimed she would see headless birds, hear the cries of children, and sometimes even see snakes in her room. These were all bizarre and unsettling occurrences, things that couldn't be explained. At first, everyone thought it was just her imagination. She was taken to doctors, but nothing helped. Her condition didn't improve, and soon her sleepless nights and anxiety worsened. The senior queen began to feel that something was seriously wrong. These strange things were happening both in dreams and while she was awake. Eventually, the senior queen called her brother and told him everything. She expressed her suspicion, saying that ever since the junior queen had entered the palace, all these strange events had started. She suspected it might be a case of black magic. The senior queen also harbored hatred and jealousy toward the junior queen after her marriage to the crown prince. She felt that Hasleza had taken her husband away, that he was now closer to the junior queen than to her. Ever since Raja Ja'afar got married, he had been spending most of his time with his new bride. Being newlyweds, he was naturally more attentive to her, caring more for her, asking more about her, and gradually he began to ignore the senior queen. This deeply affected the first wife, who had been with him for years. These emotional wounds were already there in her heart, and around the same time all the strange incidents began. She began to suspect and believe that it might all be happening due to black magic. In Malaysia, just like in many other countries, there are regions where belief in black magic is common. Many people there genuinely believe that dark forces or supernatural powers exist, powers that can control someone's mind, win over someone's heart, or even push people apart. So the senior queen suspected that the junior queen had deliberately used black magic on her, perhaps to make the king grow distant from her and closer to the new queen. She even feared that the junior queen might want to harm or kill her. Disturbed and frightened, she called her brother to the palace and shared everything with him. He stayed at the palace for some time, observed things himself, and even spoke to Raja Ja'afar. But the king simply said, "Everything seems fine to me. I don't understand what's going on. Maybe it was just imagination." But the brother insisted, "No, something is definitely wrong." The marriage had only taken place a few months earlier, in January 2002, and all of this was happening around March or April. Despite his presence, things didn't improve. Every night the senior queen would scream, saying she could see headless birds, blood, crying children, and snakes. Her brother also heard her screams at night and got up several times, though he never saw anything himself. Still, he felt deep down that something was truly wrong. He said, "All right, I'll do something about this." After that, he left the palace. By now, he was fully convinced, just like his sister, that this was a case of black magic. So he went in search of a way to break the spell. A few days later, he returned to the palace, and this time, he brought two people with him. He introduced these two individuals as servants and assigned them to work under the senior queen. But in reality, they were brought in to investigate or possibly counter the suspected black magic. He told everyone that the two men he brought would stay around the queen to help her. But the truth was that the two servants he brought were actually from a special tribe in Malaysia called Bomoh Haj. Bomoh Haj are like spiritual healers or shamans, similar in other cultures. They are experts in spells, rituals, black magic, and exorcism. So her brother brought 2 Bomo Haj with him, hoping that if the junior queen had really done any black magic, these experts could break the curse. The men arrived and began their work, but nothing improved. Days went by, and now it was already October 2002, 7 months since the wedding. But there was still no change in the senior queen's condition. Even after the 2 Bomo Haj tried their best, her health showed no signs of recovery. Then suddenly, on October 6, 2002, something shocking happened. The junior queen disappeared from the palace. Now, a queen going missing from the royal palace is no small thing. It's almost impossible for a member of the royal family to just vanish. At first, people thought maybe she had just gone out nearby for a walk or some personal time. But by evening, she still hadn't returned. When word spread that Queen Haslesa was missing, Raja Ja'afar became very worried. A search began immediately. Soon, some eyewitnesses from around the palace reported that they had seen her leaving in a car with 2 men. And the way she was leaving, it didn't look normal. It seemed as if she had been forced into the car, and that made the situation even more alarming. Raja Ja'afar became extremely concerned. But unlike traditional monarchies, Malaysia is a democracy. There's an elected government, police, laws, and courts. So the incident was formally reported to the authorities that the Queen had gone missing from the palace. The police began their investigation. The next day, the car in which the Queen had reportedly been taken was found abandoned in a remote area. When police inspected the vehicle, they found some of the Queen's cut hair and nails inside, along with blood stains. The sight of blood in the car sent a chill down the spine of the officers. It became clear that something was terribly wrong. The search for the Queen continued. After 6 days of her disappearance, on October 12th, some locals reported a shocking sight. In Perak, at a beautiful tourist spot with waterfalls, there was a hill nearby with a tree, and hanging from that tree was a badly decomposed body. When the news reached the police, they rushed to the location. The body's throat had been slit, and it was already in a severely decayed state. The police brought the body down to examine it further. After seeing the body, the identity wasn't immediately confirmed, but certain details made it clear that it was the missing Queen Haslesa. She had been brutally murdered. Her body was covered in wounds, and her throat had been slit. Once the body was brought down, the police officially opened a murder investigation. And this wasn't just any murder, it involved the royal family and the junior queen. Raja Ja'afar was in complete shock. The marriage had only been 7 months old. Meanwhile, the police intensified their investigation. Based on the car that was found abandoned and witness statements, they identified the last 2 people seen with the Queen, and they were both from inside the palace. The police arrested the 2 suspects based on witness descriptions, and it turned out they were the same 2 Bomo Haj, the shamans, that the senior queen's brother had brought from his region to deal with the suspected black magic. These 2 men, known for their expertise in spells, rituals, and black magic, had been the last ones seen with the queen. Under intense questioning, both men confessed to the murder. They admitted, "Yes, we killed the junior queen. We took her away under a false pretense, slit her throat, and then hung her body from a tree in a remote area so no one would find it easily. After that, we left the scene." Now that the 2 men had confessed to the crime, the news of a junior queen's murder within the royal family made headlines across Malaysia. This wasn't some ancient event. It happened just 24 years ago. By that time, news channels were widespread, even though social media hadn't yet taken over. The story dominated the media, and strange details kept surfacing. After their confession, police asked the men about their motive. Until then, they had simply admitted to the murder and said, "Punish us however you want," but gave no reason. At that point, Raja Ja'afar, now referred to as Sultan Ja'afar, told the police, "Find out the motive." So the Malaysian police, specifically the Perak police, questioned the two men more aggressively, and then came a shocking revelation. They said, "Yes, we killed the junior queen, but we did it on the orders of the senior queen." This statement stunned the police. The case already involved the royal family, the crown prince's wife, and now it was alleged that the senior queen had orchestrated the murder. The crown prince at the time was not only the future sultan of Perak, but also a potential king of Malaysia. Now the question was, what should be done? Because the two killers were clearly admitting to the crime and directly accusing the senior queen of masterminding it. They said, "We committed the murder on the orders of the senior queen." Now the pieces started to connect. The two killers had been brought from the same region by the senior queen's brother, and they were from her hometown. So what could be done? The matter reached the king of Perak, who at that time was the father of Crown Prince Raja Jaafar, whose second wife, the junior queen, had been murdered. The police reached out to him, asking what action should be taken. He responded, "Do whatever the law allows, follow the legal process." And so, for the first time in Perak's royal history, a queen was arrested by police, accused of being involved in the murder of the junior queen. She was formally taken from the royal palace for interrogation. The Malaysian media initially tried to keep the story under wraps, but the news eventually leaked and headlines about the queen's arrest began appearing in newspapers and on TV. During interrogation, the senior queen was kept in police custody for about 6 days. Meanwhile, bizarre and conflicting reports began to circulate. Some reports claimed she had confessed, while others said she denied everything. One version of events suggested the queen told police that she had brought the two men with the help of her brother, but claimed they had later used black magic on her, implying that she was not in full control of her actions. And according to her, the black magic was done by the junior queen. The senior queen said, "She cast a spell on me and I simply wanted to break free from it. I wanted to free myself from her enchantment and the control she had over me." She claimed, "That's why I brought these two shamans to the palace to break the black magic. But even after they arrived, my condition didn't improve. I kept seeing the same horrifying visions, so I told them, 'Do something. Destroy the source of the junior queen's magical powers. End whatever force she's using.'" She explained, "I truly believe she was the reason I had grown distant from my husband. She had come close to him, become the junior queen, and I feared that one day when the time came for Raja Jaafar to become the king of Malaysia, I might be pushed aside. I believed she had used black magic to do all this. So I told the shamans to take away her powers, not to kill her." This was the defense the senior queen gave, and the two Bomohaj she had brought with her also confirmed her statement, saying that she had indeed asked them to take the junior queen's magical powers, not to take her life. The killer said, "Yes, the queen told us to take away her powers, but she never told us to take her life." So now there were conflicting statements, the two killers' version and the senior queen's defense. In the end, the senior queen was given only 1 week of detention. After that, she returned to the palace. The two men, however, were formally arrested, and the prosecution demanded the death penalty. But eventually, the Malaysian court sentenced them to 14 years in prison. They served their time and were later released. After all this, in 2017, 15 years after the incident, the senior queen passed away, reportedly due to illness. She had lived in the same palace all those years, alone as the only queen, because Raja Jaafar never remarried, never fell in love again, and never forgot the junior queen. Her memory stayed with him always. He chose to live out his life with the senior queen, despite everything. Then, 2 years after her death, Raja Jaafar finally remarried. In this third marriage, he chose a widow from a royal family whose husband had passed away. As of 2019, and even now in 2025, Raja Jaafar and his third wife are living together in the royal palace. He remains the crown prince of Perak, and in the near future, he is expected to become the Sultan of Perak. After that, based on the rotation system and seniority, since Sultan Ibrahim became the King of Malaysia in 2024 and will serve until 2029, if fate and age are on his side, Raja Jafar could one day become the King of Malaysia. Yes, the same Raja Jafar whose second wife, the junior queen, fell victim to a deadly palace conspiracy, murdered in the name of black magic, her body later found hanging from a tree already decomposed. Stories involving ghosts, curses, or black magic are rarely seen in royal palaces because it's generally believed that the royal class stays far from such things. But the truth is different. The truth is, humans are still human, and especially when someone feels their power, place, or right has been taken away, things can turn dark. So this was today's story. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it valuable. Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another horrible case with you. It is a fact that money isn't everything, but in today's world you need money for everything. However, to earn money you also need to do proper work. But the truth is that many people look for shortcuts to make money and then end up going down the wrong path. In today's case too, you will see trust breaking, and you will learn how, driven by greed for money, a person commits the most heinous crime against humanity. The head of the household was Praveen Mediratta and his wife Sudesh Bharti. They had 2 children, a son named Darpan Mediratta and a daughter named Priyanka Mediratta Kataria. Sometime earlier, Praveen Mediratta had gotten his daughter, Priyanka, married to Saurabh Kataria, and both families were very happy. This Mediratta family lived in the city of Faridabad, in the Indian state of Haryana. Haryana is known for its agricultural output, especially wheat and rice, while Faridabad city in this state is famous for the Suraikund International Crafts Mela, the Raja Nahar Singh Palace, and the only ISKCON temple in Haryana. This beautiful city of Faridabad is also divided into sectors, with a total of 89 sectors. The Mediratta family lived in Sector 7A at house number 19, which was known as Savitri Bhawan. The head of the household, Praveen Mediratta, was a radiologist and a faculty member at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, or AAEMS. He also had his own digital X-ray clinic in the basement of his house, where he had installed an X-ray machine and would perform patient X-rays there. His wife, Sudesh Bharti, was a retired teacher, and in 2019 their son, Darpan Mediratta, was an engineer working for a company in Gurugram, another high-tech city in Haryana. In addition, the family's daughter, Priyanka's husband, Saurabh Kataria, also worked in a digital engineering firm called Virtusa in the same city. When Priyanka got married in 2013, she moved with her husband to Ghaziabad in Uttar Pradesh. Priyanka worked at the global technology company HCL Tech in Noida, which was about a half-hour drive from her in-laws' house. At the Faridabad home, only Praveen Mediratta, his wife Sudesh Bharti, and their son Darpan Mediratta lived full-time, but sometimes Priyanka and her husband Saurabh would come and stay for a few days. Overall, the Mediratta family was well-educated and well-off, with everyone holding respectable jobs, and their son-in-law Saurabh also working at a reputed engineering firm. The house lacked nothing, and they had good relations with their neighbors, who respected the family. Usually, the elderly couple, Praveen and Sudesh, were the main residents of the house, while their son Darpan lived about 24 miles away in Gurugram for work, renting a place there. Priyanka and her husband Saurabh would usually visit Faridabad only on weekends. Now comes the date of November 9th, 2019, which was a Saturday. The Medorata family's neighbors noticed that the main gate of the house had been left open since the previous night, November 8th. In addition, Praveen and Sudesh used to take their pet dog out for a walk in the fresh air early in the morning. But on the morning of November 9th, they did not leave the house. The morning newspaper was lying outside their door, and the television inside the house was playing at high volume, while the ground floor door was completely shut. The neighbors also noticed that since the previous night, the family's female dog, Ruby, had been barking continuously. At this point, one neighbor tried calling Dr. Praveen to ask why he hadn't opened his clinic and to check on him. Though the phone rang fully, no one picked up, which worried the neighbors. So they decided to try going inside the Medorata family's house to see where they were. Now, here a man rings the doorbell, but there is no response from inside, and at that moment some people also noticed that there were reddish footprints in the porch inside the house. In addition, when they went toward the basement, they saw something red spread on the ground near the basement door, as if it were blood. As soon as this thought came to mind, the neighbors became extremely worried, and then one of them was the first to call the family's son, Darpan Medorata, because everyone knew that Darpan worked in another city. As soon as Darpan answered the call, that neighbor told him that no one had come out of the house since morning, and on top of that there were red footprints in the porch. Hearing this, Darpan completely panicked and replied that just a few hours ago, before going to sleep last night, he had called his mother, and during that time he had spoken with both his parents. But now, hearing this, he dropped all his office work and left from Gurugram for his home in Faridabad. Meanwhile, one of the neighbors had also called the Sector 7A police, and at that time a police team also arrived at the Medorata family's house. After that, the neighbors showed the police the red footprints, and seeing this, the police too first rang the doorbell. But there was no response from inside. The only sound coming from inside was that of the television. Because of this, the police also began to suspect that something was wrong, and then, to clear their doubts, they decided to break open the ground floor door and go inside. But as soon as one police officer pushed the door slightly, it opened. Perhaps the wood of the door had swollen due to moisture, which is why everyone thought it was locked from inside. But now, as soon as the ground floor door opened and some police officers and neighbors entered the house, their eyes fell on the drawing room floor. But the scene they saw with their own eyes made their hair stand on end, because there were two blood-soaked dead bodies lying there. The entire floor was stained red, and these two bodies were of the family's daughter, Priyanka, and son-in-law, Saurabh. Both had marks of sharp-edged weapons on their necks and several other wounds on their bodies. Seeing this scene, the police officers present at the spot immediately informed and called the forensic experts team, the sniffer dog squad, and their senior officers to the scene. After this, the police began searching different parts of the house for Dr. Praveen and his wife, Sudesh Bharti. But as soon as some police officers went to this couple's bedroom on the ground floor, they found Sudesh Bharti's dead body also soaked in blood. She too had sharp weapon marks on her neck, and now everyone was worried about the head of the family, Dr. Praveen. But as soon as the police officers went into the basement at the neighbor's suggestion, they found Dr. Praveen's body lying near the X-ray machine. Praveen's entire body, especially his neck, had sharp weapon marks, and with this it was confirmed that 4 people of the Medorata family, the elderly couple, their daughter and son-in-law, had been murdered. Learning this shocked all the neighbors because they couldn't believe what enmity anyone could have with such a cheerful and educated family. However, within a short time, the forensic team, sniffer dogs, and senior police officers also arrived at the crime scene. Meanwhile, in that time, the family's only son, Darpan Medorata, also reached home after traveling for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Then, when the police showed him the bodies of his parents, sister, and brother-in-law, Darpan completely broke down, and at that very moment he lost control and began to cry. After this, some neighbors tried to console Darpan and calm him down. But during this time, Darpan cried so much that he collapsed and fell unconscious right there, so some neighbors took him to a nearby hospital. Meanwhile, the police continued their investigation and noticed that some furniture in the drawing room had been moved from its place, and there were blood splatters and handprints on the walls. Seeing all this, the police suspected that there had been a struggle and an attempt to resist. Perhaps Priyanka and her husband, Saurabh, had tried to fight off the killers. By this time, some relatives of the Mediratta family had also arrived at their house, and they too wanted to know what motive was behind such brutality. Meanwhile, after the forensic experts thoroughly examined the entire house, all the dead bodies were sent for post-mortem. The police also left no stone unturned in their investigation to uncover the truth behind these murders. First, the police searched the entire house thoroughly from the angle of robbery, and during the initial investigation they found that both women in the house, Sudesh Bharti and her daughter Priyanka, had no jewelry on their necks, ears, or hands. This made the police suspect that perhaps the killer had entered the house with the intention of robbery, and when the family members resisted, he killed them all. But soon the police began to doubt this theory because nothing valuable was stolen from the cupboard in the house. On top of that, the killer even went to the basement and killed Dr. Praveen there, and all the cash in his drawer and pockets was untouched. Besides that, when the police checked the main door on the ground floor, they found that entry into the house was completely friendly, as there was no damage. Once this was clear, the police decided to review the CCTV footage from cameras installed around the Mediratta family's house. The Mediratta family had been living in that area in their home for several decades, and they had very good relations with their neighbors. Moreover, all the family members were highly educated and contributed greatly to maintaining the society well, which is why this case quickly became very big. So to solve this case as quickly as possible, the police had to take the help of their special unit, the Crime Branch. Here, 5 different teams were formed by the Crime Branch, one of which was tasked only with checking CCTV footage. The Crime Branch team first found a camera installed in the family's neighborhood that clearly covered the Mediratta family's entrance. According to some neighbors, they had seen the family alive as late as the evening of November 8th. After learning this, the police began reviewing all footage from the evening of November 8th to the morning of November 9th. The police closely monitored every activity of the family, and during this time they saw that at 10:10 p.m. on November 8th, a silver-colored scooter arrived outside the house. The scooter was being driven by a man wearing a helmet, and for some time he just parked and sat there as if waiting for someone. He stayed on that scooter for about 12 to 13 minutes, and during this time, Praveen Mediratta, his wife Sudesh Bharti, and their pet dog Ruby returned home from somewhere. But the helmet-wearing man continued sitting on his scooter at that time, but then at 10:27 p.m., that man also entered Praveen's house with his helmet still on. The police continued watching the CCTV footage, and then they saw that after some time, Priyanka and her husband Saurabh also went inside the house. The surprising thing is that at that time, the helmeted man was also still inside the house. But then that person came out of the Mediratta family's house at 11:52 p.m., but even at that time, he was still wearing the helmet. After that, he sat on the scooter and left. Besides this, the police also reviewed CCTV footage up to the afternoon of the next day, November 9th, but did not see any suspicious person entering the house. Seeing all this, the Faridabad police's first suspect was that helmeted person because they believed he already knew the Mediratta family and had deliberately worn the helmet to avoid being caught on camera. But apart from that man, there were 3 other people under police suspicion. Now, the police began to identify those other 3 suspects. At this point, all the relatives and neighbors of the Mediratta family were questioned about these 4 suspects. In addition, when the family's son, Darpan, was a little more stable, he too was asked about all 4 suspects, and fortunately, the police learned their identities. After that, a message was sent to all four of them that they would have to come to the crime branch office the next day, November 10th. On November 10th, three of them did come to the crime branch office, and the police questioned them. The conclusion of this questioning was that all three were found innocent, but the helmeted fourth suspect did not come to the police, and it was also Darpan who had recognized him from the CCTV footage from the night of November 8th. This person's name was Mukesh Thakur, who was also Darpan's friend. When it came out that Mukesh Thakur was Darpan's friend, the police also began to suspect the family's son. In fact, some close acquaintances said that Darpan and his mother, Sudesh Bharti, did not have a good relationship, and that was why the two of them barely spoke to each other. But some other relatives believed that such small quarrels happen in every house, and it doesn't mean Darpan would kill his entire family. Later, when the police themselves questioned Darpan about this, he admitted there was a bit of friction between him and his mother, but said he was not so angry that he would take his own family's lives. Besides this, Darpan also showed the police evidence that he had spoken with his mother on the phone on the night of November 8th. Knowing all this, Darpan was no longer under police suspicion, and so the police started looking for his friend, Mukesh Thakur. This man was a resident of Rajiv Colony in Faridabad and worked as a gym trainer at a gym called The Den in a market named Huda. It was during gym sessions that Mukesh Thakur met Darpan Medarata, and he was Darpan's gym trainer too. After learning about Mukesh's locality and profession, the police went directly to his house on the evening of November 10th. At his home were his wife, mother, and brother, and the police questioned all of them. Here, Mukesh's mother said that earlier that morning her son Mukesh had left with some belongings and clothes. But when they asked him where he was going, he said he was going to Haridwar with his friends for a trip and would return in 3 to 4 days. Now, Haridwar is known as one of Hinduism's major pilgrimage sites, especially for the Ganga Aarti ceremony and the Kumbh Mela, which is held once every 12 years. But later, when the police questioned Mukesh's wife, she gave them a handwritten note. According to Mukesh's wife, she found this note lying on top of the fridge, and it was written by Mukesh because she recognized his handwriting. But what Mukesh had written in that note had, in a way, completely solved the case. But reading that note created a new problem for the police. In fact, Mukesh had written in the note, "I have murdered 4 people, and now I might kill myself too." Reading this note shook the police to their core, and they realized that if they didn't find Mukesh as soon as possible, a killer would slip through their fingers. So, the Faridabad police quickly left to search for Mukesh, but before leaving his house, they noticed a silver-colored scooter parked there. This was the same scooter that the police had seen in CCTV footage near the Medirata family's house. Some officers even noticed that there were bloodstains on the handle of that scooter. The police officers first went to Mukesh's gym to search for him, and there the gym owner made a shocking revelation. He said that Mukesh usually leaves the gym around 10 p.m., but on November 8, 2019, he went home early around 9 p.m., saying he had to attend a close relative's wedding. The gym owner further said that the next day Mukesh came to the gym at his usual time, but he had a bandage on his hand. When the owner asked him what had happened to his hand, Mukesh replied that he had suffered a minor injury when a dog came in front of his scooter while he was returning home from the wedding, causing him to fall. Well, after hearing the gym trainer's statement, the police believed that Mukesh had lied to his gym owner and that the injury on his hand had actually occurred during the murder of the 4 victims. Meanwhile, a crime branch team was monitoring Mukesh's phone activity, and coincidentally, his phone was switched on once. When the police traced it, they found that the phone was active not in Faridabad, but in Mumbai, 844 miles away. After learning this, a police team was immediately sent to Mumbai, but along the way they found out that Mukesh had already left, and a few hours later his location was traced to a town called Shirdi in Maharashtra. On the evening of November 13th, 2019, Mukesh Thakur was arrested by the Faridabad police, and after traveling nearly 763 miles, he was brought to the Sector 7A police station in Faridabad. At this point, the police didn't have to work too hard. Under a bit of pressure, Mukesh confessed that he had killed all 4 members of the Mediratta family. After that, he explained to the police in detail the motive behind the murders and how he had carried them out. In reality, Mukesh Thakur had developed a habit of online gambling and betting, which led him to accumulate a debt of 500,000 Indian rupees, which is about $5,840 based on today's conversion rate. Since Mukesh had been working as a trainer at the gym for the past 6 years, he had built up a good number of clients, many of whom trusted him blindly. Mukesh used to help those clients with diet planning, workout strategies, and exercise routines. That's why he knew very well that if he told his clients something, they would believe him. Taking advantage of this trust, he once went to one of his clients and made up a fake story to borrow some money. Shockingly, the innocent client believed Mukesh's fake story and gave him his hard-earned money. Mukesh then felt that this idea could work. He had many clients who trusted him, and by doing this, he could ask almost every one of them for financial help, and very few would refuse him. Doing this repeatedly, Mukesh drove many people crazy, and he himself told the police that once he had asked a lady client for a loan. He told her that his wife was going to have a baby, but the doctor was saying there could be complications during delivery, so he needed 50,000 rupees, which is about $585. Although the lady didn't have the money herself, she still borrowed it from her boss to help Mukesh. But Mukesh lost all that money in gambling, and just like that, he borrowed a total of 500,000 Indian rupees from different people and blew it all on betting. But later, when people started demanding their money back, he didn't even have enough to pay back a single person because his monthly salary as a gym trainer was only 16,000 rupees, which is around $186. At this same gym, Darpan Mediratta also used to come to work out, and during that time, Mukesh started helping Darpan with his exercises and advising him on diet and such. Soon, their friendship grew so deep that in October 2019, Darpan invited Mukesh to his home for dinner. But during this visit, Mukesh's greedy eyes noticed that Darpan's house was very luxurious. His father was a doctor, and Darpan himself lived elsewhere, with only his elderly parents staying home all day. Seeing all this, an evil idea struck Mukesh's mind that he should rob Darpan's house since the family had a lot of money, and he could easily clear his debts by stealing it. Initially, though, Mukesh's plan wasn't to kill anyone. He just wanted to steal some cash and jewelry from the house. But even then, a week before carrying out the crime, he bought a knife from the market so he could protect himself in case of trouble. Since Mukesh had already been to Darpan's house a couple of times, Darpan's parents knew him well. So first, Mukesh made several trips around the Mediratta home. During this time, he found out what time each family member was away from home and when Dr. Praveen usually returned from work. After figuring all this out on the night of November 8th, as per his plan, Mukesh rode his silver-colored scooter to Darpan's house. On arriving there, he saw a lock on the front door and realized that after dinner, Dr. Praveen and his wife must have gone out for a stroll. So Mukesh waited outside their house on his scooter, and when they returned home, he entered their house wearing his helmet. However, once inside, Mukesh took off his helmet, and Dr. Praveen and his wife immediately recognized him. After this, Dr. Praveen and his wife had Mukesh sit in a separate room in their house, and Dr. Praveen turned on the TV. Here, Mukesh told Dr. Praveen that he felt he had injured his wrist while working out. He said he thought he should get an X-ray to check it, and hearing this, Dr. Praveen told Mukesh that they could do the X-ray right then. Normally, Dr. Praveen closed his clinic at night, but since Mukesh was his son, Darpan's friend, he agreed to help. Leaving the TV on and the room door open, Dr. Praveen took Mukesh down to his clinic in the basement. There he began preparing to do the X-ray, but in the meantime Mukesh pulled out the knife and started demanding money from the doctor. Seeing the knife and hearing the threats, Dr. Praveen became frightened and began calling out to his wife. But their screaming and shouting scared Mukesh too, and out of fear of getting caught, he attacked Dr. Praveen. First, he slashed his throat to silence him, and when he realized that if he left Dr. Praveen alive, he would get caught, he decided to kill him. During this attack, Mukesh struck Dr. Praveen's head twice and also stabbed him several times in the chest. These blows caused massive blood loss, and Mukesh left Dr. Praveen in that state and went back up to the ground floor. But when he killed Dr. Praveen, his clothes and shoes were stained with blood, which left bloody footprints on the basement stairs. After that, he first went into the room where the TV was on and increased its volume. However, the family's female dog, Ruby, was also sleeping in that room, and the loud TV woke her up. Seeing this, she started barking loudly, and out of fear that she might alert someone, Mukesh locked her inside the room. Then Mukesh quietly tiptoed into another room, where he saw Sudesh Bharti sleeping. Seeing this, Mukesh quietly tried to open her closet, but the noise woke Sudesh Bharti up. When she saw Mukesh in her room, she started screaming, and to silence her, Mukesh attacked her neck with a knife. However, he had no plan to kill Sudesh Bharti either, but the situation forced him to. Even after killing her, he couldn't open her closet, so he stole all the jewelry she was wearing. By this time, Mukesh had already spent over half an hour inside the Mediratta family's house. Just as Mukesh was about to leave, the family's daughter, Priyanka, arrived with her husband, Saurabh Kataria, forcing Mukesh to hide somewhere inside the house. After some time, he tried to escape when Priyanka spotted him in the living room. At that time, Mukesh's hands and clothes were covered in blood, and he was holding a large knife. Seeing this, Priyanka screamed and called her husband, but to cover up his crime, Mukesh attacked her too. The attack was so brutal that Priyanka died after just 1 or 2 blows, and by then her husband Saurabh had also arrived. Although Mukesh tried to attack him as well, Saurabh fought back and, for a moment, even overpowered Mukesh. But since Mukesh had a knife, he gained the upper hand and stabbed Saurabh multiple times. After so many knife wounds, Saurabh also became weak and eventually died. After this, Mukesh took 3 cell phones from the house and removed the jewelry Priyanka was wearing. Then, about an hour and 25 minutes later, he left the Mediratta house and fled on a scooter. Mukesh told the police that he only came to threaten and rob the family at knife point, and he had no intention of killing anyone. But he hadn't imagined that to cover up one robbery, he would end up killing Dr. Praveen. Then to cover that up, he would have to kill his wife, Sudesh Bharti. Then, because Priyanka saw his blood-soaked clothes, he had to kill her too. And in order to escape, he had to kill her husband as well. During this, Mukesh stole around 200,000 rupees worth of jewelry from the house, and among the 3 phones he stole, Priyanka's phone was recovered quickly. But in this way, a gambler killed 4 members of a happy family just to pay off a 500,000 rupees debt. Although the investigation in this case has been completed and the trial is probably still ongoing in court, we don't know the latest update because all news articles and YouTube videos were published back in 2019, and since then, no new content related to this case has come out. However, we will keep our eyes on this case, and whenever the criminal is sentenced, we will surely share it in a community post on the David True Crime channel. So with that, the Mediratta family murder case comes to an end right here. If you appreciate our efforts, like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Bullying is something that gives some people pleasure by harassing others. But for the person who is bullied, it damages their mental health. The truth is that in most schools and colleges, many students either become victims of bullying or witness it with their own eyes. But in today's case, some kids crossed all limits of bullying, after which many anti-bullying initiatives were launched in Canada. This is the case that put Canadian authorities on a new mission: the 1997 murder of Reena Virk. In the 1970s, a Sikh boy from India named Manjit Virk worked for a pharmaceutical company in the country's capital, Delhi. Manjit Virk was handsome. His tall height and thick black hair added to his charm. But in April 1989, 22-year-old Manjit asked for 2 months' leave from his job to visit Canada to see his sister Amarjeet. As soon as Manjit got off the plane and sat in the car outside the airport, he liked the new country, the clean roads, the calm, carefree, and comfortable atmosphere on the way to his sister Amarjeet's house. Now Manjit was blending in with his sister's family and learning the Canadian way of life. A few days later, Amarjeet hosted a dinner at her home to introduce her brother to all her Canadian friends. Among these guests were Mukund and Tarsim Palan. In fact, the Palan family had been living in Canada since 1947, and the couple had 5 children who were all born in British Columbia. That evening, the Palan's 18-year-old daughter, Suman Palan, also came with her family. During dinner, Manjit and Suman started talking, and neither of them probably imagined that this conversation would go so far that they would now meet either at Manjit Virk's sister Amarjeet's house or in public parks. Before long, these sweet meetings turned into a very strong relationship that was almost impossible to break. But time also flew by with their relationship, and now Manjit had very few days left in Canada because his visit visa was about to expire. Manjit followed Sikhism, while Suman's family had at some point converted from Sikhism to Jehovah's Witnesses, so both of them knew there would be obstacles in their marriage. Suman's parents even feared that Manjit might want to marry their daughter just to get a Canadian passport. Yet, hiding from both families, Manjit and Suman got legally married on June 11, 1979, in Victoria, the capital city of British Columbia, Canada. For the sake of his love, Manjit even changed his religion after marriage and began attending the Jehovah's Witness Church with his wife, Suman. Later, both families accepted the marriage, and the couple was very happy in their life. Their happiness grew even more when, on March 10, 1983, their daughter Reena was born at Victoria's Royal Jubilee Hospital. About 2 years later, on June 24, 1985, another daughter was born whom they named Simran. Then, on February 25, 1988, Suman also gave birth to a son named Aman. And in this way, Manjit and Suman's family became a complete family. Since the family had grown, both Manjit Virk and Suman used to go to work and would give their eldest daughter Reena the responsibility of taking care of the other 2 children. The place where this family lived, the Saanich district of Victoria Island, is a very beautiful area. In the central part of Vancouver Island's Saanich, you can see peaceful, scenic beaches, rolling farms, natural beauty-filled mountains, beautiful restaurants, and the world-famous Butchert Gardens. This place is perfect both for permanent living and for vacationing. Because of this, both parents used to take all their children on picnics and to different places around Saanich from the beginning. But in the winter holidays of 1991, Manjit brought his family to his hometown in Punjab, India. He actually wanted to show his children the beauty of his country and his village, and during their stay in India, they had a really good time. But over time, Manjit and Suman noticed that their daughter Reena had become very quiet, and the smile on her face had disappeared. Besides this, Reena had also become quite irritable and would argue with her parents over every little thing. In the beginning, when Reena used to go to school, she was very happy and was smarter than many of the kids in her class. She even stopped going to church at the start of 1994 and didn't feel like studying at school anymore. But when Reena kept behaving like this for months, her parents realized that something was bothering her. After that, they started trying to find out the reason behind their daughter's anger, and after a lot of searching, they found out that some kids at school were bothering her. This wasn't anything new, in fact. At that time, in every corner of the world, many children faced bullying in school over their language, clothes, skin color, and things like that. And this still happens today. But Rena's case was different because she was taller and a little heavier than other girls, and her skin tone was also a bit darker than other Canadian kids. Because of this, the kids at her school had been bullying her for quite some time, and since Rena was growing up, this mistreatment really disturbed her. Plus, she didn't have any friends. Seeing their daughter's condition, her parents thought that maybe if they admitted her to another school, she might make some new friends there. Because of this, in May 1994, the Verk family shifted to a 3,000 square foot house on the other side of Saanich City. After that, they got Rena admitted to a new school near their new house, but even there the situation didn't improve and, unfortunately, the bullying continued. Obviously, this upset Manjit and Suman a lot, so they asked the school principal for help. But after a few days, things went back to the same as before. After that, Manjit thought about going back to India, believing that living around their own people in his hometown, Punjab, would mean his daughter wouldn't have to face bullying. But Suman didn't agree with her husband's decision because she was born and raised in Canada, and she felt that leaving Canada's lifestyle and adjusting to village life with the kids would be difficult. So in the end, both husband and wife decided that they would stay in Canada and fight this problem. Time passed quickly, and at the start of 1996, Rena's father bought her a parrot, thinking that taking care of a pet would help her forget the mistreatment she faced. Rena named the parrot Smooch, and over time she became very attached to it. But in July 1996, when 13-year-old Rena got summer holidays from school, one day she went for a walk in the park near her house. That day in the park, she saw some kids smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, and Rena found these kids very cool. These kids were actually school dropouts and irresponsible towards society. They used to come home late and also dated each other, even though they are below 18 at that time. Seeing all this, Rena too became attracted to their habits, and those kids included Rena in their group. But Rena's parents told her to be home before 9 p.m., while those other kids often stayed out all night. So now Rena also started getting irritated with her own household rules. Here, Suman and Manjit also tried several times to explain to Rena that bad company is harmful. But at that time, Rena didn't listen to a single thing her parents said and kept doing whatever she wanted. Meanwhile, Rena's friend from the park told her that if she listened to her, she should accuse her parents of beating her. She said she knew a girl who told the police there was inappropriate behavior at home, and the police immediately sent that girl to foster homes, where now she does whatever she wants. Hearing this, the next day, Rena told one of her friend's mothers that her parents harassed her. As soon as that woman heard this, she didn't check the facts at all, but took Rena straight to the police station and filed a complaint against her parents. Although the police questioned Rena's parents about it at the time, in the end they found no evidence. But after this, the police decided that Rena would live with her grandparents, Mukand and Tarsum Palin. Now, Rena also began telling her grandparents that her parents were very strict with her, would beat her for every little thing, and even that when she went to India, someone tried to force themselves on her. But when her grandmother insisted she name that person, she named her own father Manjit. As a result, in January 1997, Manjit Verk was also arrested by the police, although he completely denied the accusation and Suman supported him. But even so, after keeping Manjit in jail for one night, he was given a court date and told that both parents could not meet their daughter Rena until their court hearing. We can't even imagine what her parents must have felt at that time because of Rena's actions, but they were very worried about their daughter's bad behavior. However, after this incident, Rena's grandmother also began to doubt her statement that her parents used to beat her and that her father had tried to behave inappropriately with her. But when they tried to get the truth out of Rena, she got upset with her grandmother and tried to kill herself by cutting the vein in her wrist with a knife. After this, Rena once again went to the government authorities for help and told them her grandparents were also bothering her, so she wanted to stay in foster care. Then in May 1997, Rena got new foster parents. Foster parents are those individuals or couples who, with government permission, provide temporary care for children who cannot live with their biological parents. In return, people also get some money from the government, but perhaps Rena had imagined foster homes as paradise, though there too she was instructed to eat and sleep on time. Besides that, there were rules to help with chores like washing dishes and her own clothes, and Rena didn't like these tasks at all. While staying with her foster parents, one day Rena fell sick and no one gave her any medicine or took her to a doctor. At that moment, Rena thought that she had been more comfortable at her parents' home, where her mother did the cleaning and cooked meals for everyone. As a result, one day in September 1997, Rena decided to return home. She even withdrew the case of inappropriate behavior against her father, and after that the Saanich Police Department also removed Manjit Virk's criminal record. Now Rena was back home and only apologized to her father. She didn't really feel much remorse. Now Rena had come back home, but she had changed a lot over the past few months. She had started listening to rap music, wore clothes like boys, and even walked like them. Besides that, she had made several tattoos on her hands herself, using pen ink. In fact, she was now following all the habits of her addict friends just to stay close to them and always tried to please them. However, these very friends didn't treat her well. They would sometimes steal her money and sometimes abuse her while high. But even then, she always liked being with them. One day in October 1997, while her parents were away, Rena invited all her friends over to her house. Rena and her friends partied all night, and when the next day Manjit came home with his wife Suman, he noticed that his new video recorder was missing from the house. In addition, some of Suman's gold jewelry and about $500 had also been stolen from her closet. Seeing this made Manjit Virk and his wife Suman very angry, so despite Rena not wanting it, they went to the police station and filed a theft report against her friends. But later that same October, in the last week of the month, one day Rena asked her parents for money to buy cigarettes. When they refused, Rena got angry and, on one of her friend's suggestions, went to live in a group home. Group homes are actually government programs that, in many countries, provide assistance and housing to people with disabilities or those needing social support. These homes have all kinds of people and many live together in each house. But even there, Rena met some troubled kids her age who had criminal records and spent all day high. Now comes the date, November 14th, 1997. It was a Friday, and Rena came to meet her parents, saying she would spend that weekend with them. Hearing this made Manjit and Suman happy, and Rena played cards with her siblings, and the three of them planned to rent a movie to watch that night. But at 7 p.m., one of Rena's friends called her and invited her to a party, and on hearing about the party, Rena cancelled all the plans she had fixed with her family. After that, she got ready for the party and left the house right then. But around 9 p.m., she called home from a store's phone booth service and said, "The party is over, I'll be home by around 10 p.m. But time kept passing and soon it was 12 a.m., yet Rena hadn't come home. Seeing this made Rena's parents very worried, because even though Rena was a troubled child, she always came home at the time she told her parents. Manjit Virk first called the group home supervisor and asked about Rena, but the supervisor said that Rena wasn't there, and hearing this left Manjit and Suman shocked. But when Rena didn't come home that entire night between November the 14th and 15, her parents went to the nearby police station to file a missing person report. The police officers there said that Rena lived in a group home and many kids had gone missing from there before but usually came back in a day or two, so they said they would wait 48 hours first, and only if Rena didn't return after that would they file the missing person report. But even then, Manjit Virk and his wife Suman set out to search the entire city for Rena, because after all, she was their daughter. Now, the date is November 17th, 1997, and it had been 3 days since Rena went missing. Meanwhile, rumors of a murder began spreading at the nearby Shoreline Middle School. It was being said that a girl's body was lying in the water near the Craigflower Bridge. Gradually, this talk even reached the teachers, but no one tried to find out anything from the kids, nor did they inform the police. In fact, a student named Kelly Ellard was proudly telling everyone that she had the biggest role in the murder, and that from now on everyone should call her Killer Kelly. But now comes November 21st, 1997, a week since Rena had gone missing, and finally a witness comes forward about her disappearance. Actually, a boy tells the police that on the night of November 14th, he had gone out for a walk when he saw 15-year-old Kelly Ellard near Craigflower Bridge. The boy also says that Kelly stopped him and told him she had just killed Rena Virk with Warren Glowatsky. After hearing all this, the police arrest Kelly and Warren Glowatsky. Additionally, detectives question students at Shoreline School, and one after another, 6 girls are arrested from there. Now, there were a total of 8 suspects in police custody, 7 girls, and the 8th was Warren Glowatsky. But as soon as they heard what that boy said, around 5 p.m. some police officers surveyed the area near Craigflower Bridge by helicopter. As a result, they soon saw Rena Virk's half-naked body floating in the river about 200 meters from the bridge. Even then, before declaring it officially, detectives asked Manjit Virk and Suman for a photo of Rena and compared it to the body found by the river. Manjit Virk wrote in his book, Rena, A Father's Story, that when they were told about Rena's murder, both husband and wife sat silently for a long time on their living room sofa, holding each other's hand in the same spot. Manjit further says that Rena was a 14-year-old girl who, like any teenager, was trying to find herself at that age, and at that time she was hungry for acceptance and her friends' love. Although she hurt her parents by falsely accusing them, in the end she was their daughter and she wasn't some professional criminal. No one deserves to die like that. After that, Rena's dead body was autopsied, and the doctor revealed that Rena Virk's body had so many injuries that they were comparable to what someone might get in a car accident. Deep shoe prints were pressed into her forehead and face, causing severe swelling in her brain. Besides this, doctors found a lot of water and small pebbles in Rena's lungs. The pathologist performing Rena's autopsy said that even if she hadn't drowned, the injuries on her body and the swelling in her brain were so severe that her survival was nearly impossible. After this, detectives also started interrogating those 6 kids, and under pressure they told the whole truth. They said that on the night of November 14th, about 10 to 12 kids aged between 14 and 16 were drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes near Craigflower Bridge. Among them was 14-year-old Rena, and suddenly a girl named Nicole Cook accused Rena of stealing her diary. She told Rena that she had stolen her phone diary and was secretly calling her boyfriend. Hearing this false accusation deeply upset Rena, and in anger she swore at Nicole. But Nicole also got angry at this insult and stubbed out her cigarette on Rena's forehead, and then Rena tried to run away to save herself. But 8 people from the group caught her and tricked her into falling to the ground. These 8 people included Nicole Cook, Missy Plyke, Nicole Patterson, Courtney Keith, Gail Ooms, Kelly Ellard, and Warren Glowatsky. After that, they all started kicking Rena, and this brutality went on for a total of 5 minutes. Rena lay on the ground begging them all for forgiveness, even though she hadn't really done anything that bad. But perhaps seeing Rena's condition, one of the attackers felt pity and stopped the others from beating the three of them. They all then left Rena alone and went their separate ways. A few seconds later, Rena, enduring the pain of her injuries, stood up and slowly began crossing the bridge step by step. But when she got off the bridge and turned slightly, she saw Warren Glowatsky and Kelly Ellard following right behind her. Seeing this, she panicked and tried to walk faster, but Warren and Kelly attacked Rena again. Rena fell to the ground once more, and this time they kicked her multiple times in the stomach and on her head. The attacks were so brutal that within seconds, Rena lost consciousness. After that, Warren and Kelly dragged Rena and threw her into the river. But when the salty river water hit Rena's wounds, she regained consciousness and began to struggle. But here Kelly pressed her foot on Rena's head to keep her face submerged so she would drown and die. Even after this, Kelly felt no remorse. Instead, after killing Rena, she took a cigarette from her pants and smoked it like some gangster. A few minutes later, Kelly and Warren both left Rena's body there and walked away. The shocking thing was that they had never even met Rena before. They had only joined that group that day to have some fun. When the first attack on Rena happened, both of them actively participated, and in the end it was the two of them who decided they had to kill Rena, or else she might go to the police about all of them. After hearing this whole story, the police prepared their charge sheet and presented the case in court. Then in February 1998, 6 girls were found guilty of assaulting Rena and injuring her body. But some of them were given only 2 months in jail and some up to a year. However, Warren Glowatsky's trial began in April 1999, and he admitted his guilt, which led to him being sentenced to life in prison in June 1999. But exactly 11 years later, in June 2010, he was permanently released. In fact, Rena's parents also helped a lot in Warren's release, and now you might be wondering why the victim, Rena's family, would help a killer. The reason behind this is that Warren was completely honest throughout the trial, and he even met Rena's parents and admitted his crime. He also said he deeply regretted killing an innocent young girl. After hearing all this, Manjit Virk and Suman told the court that Warren deserved another chance to fix his life. But things didn't go the same way with Kelly. She denied killing Rena in court. Although she avoided sentencing several times due to minor technicalities after multiple trials, in April 2005 she was finally sentenced to life in prison when she was 22 years old. As time passed, in 2017, Kelly Ellard began a relationship through letters with a man in a men's prison. Then when that man got out on parole, he was allowed to meet Kelly. But after that meeting, Kelly became pregnant in the women's prison. And in 2018, she gave birth to a boy inside the prison itself. Kelly also wanted to take advantage of this, and after the boy was born, when she applied for parole, it was approved. There isn't much online information about what she did after getting out of prison in 2018, but the most recent news about Kelly Ellard is from January 30th, 2025. That news reported that Kelly Ellard was once again arrested for violating her parole conditions. But the thing to think about is why the court handed down such light sentences to those who beat and killed Rena when 14-year-old Rena lost her life. Several books have been published about Rena Virk's case, among which Under the Bridge is the most famous. In addition, Suman and Manjit carried the grief of their daughter's murder in their hearts and led many anti-bullying campaigns. For many years, they educated high school students about the many harms of bullying, and Suman Virk developed several programs to address youth violence. She taught children to fight against bullying until her last breath. But on June 16, 2018, 58-year-old Suman Virk passed away. Manjit Virk still lives in Vancouver, British Columbia, and he wrote a detailed book about his daughter in which he shared many things from his heart. So with that, the Rena Virk murder case comes to an end right here. If you appreciate our efforts, like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Thank you.